Hey everyone, it's Saya from HustleSZN, and I think the title kind of speaks for itself, but basically I wanted to do a video where I talk about all the same manga that everyone else is reading because, you know, I want to read the books that the people I watch recommend to me. Most of them come from Missemmareadsalot because she was who I was following before I even started booktube, and I had bought these books before then. But since starting booktube, I've come across a lot of smaller booktubers who have also been reading some of these ones. But in terms of the ones that I read, which I'll quickly show you, Tokyo Ghoul, I only have volume 3 with me. I haven't read volume 3, but I read volume 1 and 2 for the same reason. So I thought it'd be in here. I had Horimiya volume 1 and 2, which I read. And then I also had Dream and Sun volumes 1 and 2, which I also read. And then The Prince and the Dressmaker. I just kind of want to talk about my opinions of these books. I'll start with Tokyo Ghoul because it's probably the least interesting because I haven't even read this one. I read volume 1 and 2 a while ago, like I think sometime last year. In general, I did not like this one all that much. I don't really remember a lot about it, but I think one of the things that drew me to it was that everyone said it would get really dark and that it would explore morality and explore what it means to be a human versus a monster. Within the first 2 volumes, it just didn't do that for me all that much, and I'm sure if I pushed through it would, but every time I finished it, like, I liked it and it was fun while I read it, but when I was done, I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to pick up the next volume. The characters just didn't like capture me the way I wanted them to, so I'm gonna read the 3rd one because I own it and I've paid for it, but I don't know past that if I will or will not. And then Horimiya was the next one that I picked up and I read. Now this one, Ashley Outpaged and Missemmareadsalot both talk so highly of it, and they always go off about how like cute it is and stuff, and the trope in general I thought would also be fun in that the 2 main love interests are polar opposites and that they live this like double life outside of school. I just thought the premise would be really cool. But so I read the 1st one and I recently read the 2nd one. Oh, I guess I should tell all of you. I read all of these on a plane ride recently, so that's why I want to do a video about all of them right now. I remember when I picked up the 1st one, I was like into it for all of 5 minutes, but it was so like not with the times, if that makes sense. Like as soon as I started off, it was so cliche, but not necessarily in a good way. It was homophobic, it was super sexist, and like the sexism and the homophobia to a certain degree I expect a little bit in anime and manga because a lot of them I just find, I think there's like separate genres, and I'm not very well versed in all the different genres because I know that there are animes that are super gay, but I don't know if the intent is to be super gay. But like Yuri on Ice and Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid are the 2 that I'm thinking of. But even Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, all of them have these like ginormous tits that are kind of bouncing around everywhere. So like I don't know if this is tailored towards guy fans. I just don't fully understand it, so I don't like want to make a dumb comment about it. Main guy and his friend sometimes will make these awkward jokes with each other about like playing the line of being gay together, but then this guy will always like freak out and be like, why you have to say shit like that? Which I guess you could argue he's not out of the closet yet, but no, he doesn't want the school to like think of him like that. The female characters were super, maybe I should just give examples. One of the conflicts that I remember, essentially the main girl tries to help out with student council, God knows what she's trying to do. Someone else on the group like loses a piece of paper, and then obviously they start like bullying the main girl, and then the main guy has to come in and headbutt the guy, and it's just like, it's a lot of like damsel in distresses type stuff. It's cute if it's done like once, maybe twice, and you make me truly believe like that this person needed help. But if it's like constantly and it just feels like you're putting them in this situation so that you can have like the guy come in and save her, or you can have people swoon over your main character, I just thought it was kind of lazy. And I just really like felt like the side characters fell really flat in these 2 volumes. I shouldn't say the whole series, but like he's hell-bent on the main girl and he won't, you know what I mean? Like she said no so many times, like you need to move on. She's okay, but has no lines or personality. The only thing I did want to say though is there's a chapter in here called page 10, and that chapter gave me life. It was so good. I think that chapter for me at least made me enjoy this volume so much. It was like so random. It's this random chapter about the main guy, I should know their names, Miyamura, or I'm gonna call him Izumi, or maybe I'll call him Miyamura. So the main guy, Miyamura, he's kind of like this strange, outcasty type of guy, but then like low-key when he goes out, he's into EDM and raving, and or like maybe, I don't know what type of music it is. It might be like some J-rock type stuff, but he's into like looking like a scene kid sort of, and so he has to always like cover his body because he has all these tattoos and piercings, and he's so fashion forward in comparison. There's this one chapter that kind of explains like why he is the way he is, not necessarily why he's into into music and stuff, but he is like very strange and socially awkward, and people are half scared of him, half like he's kind of a loner, like don't bother talking to him. Sorry, my back hurts. There's this really cute part. This guy is his main friend in the book, and at one point Miyamura like kind of turns to him and says something, and he tells him, "Oh my god, you're so weird." And he says it kind of as an offhand comment. Miyamura just like takes it to heart because he's been called weird so much and it's such a big insecurity for him, and like that resonated with me just so much because I'm so self-conscious about my social skills and like how I can't talk to people normally. A lot of times like people will say hi to me and like I'm just so shocked that they even bother to talk to me that I can't properly be like, "Oh hi, how are you?" and like respond normally. So shit like that always gets to me. But anyways, this is the cover page, and then this is him getting all like beaten up and stuff, and then he just continues to like hate high school or middle school or whatever he's in. And then it kind of shows like how in the past, if there was ever like, you know those times when the class is like, okay, everybody get into groups of 4, he's kind of like left out. And then in the present time, they say the same thing, they say get into groups of 4, and then the cutest fucking thing happens. They like all get their desks and just sit around him, and he's just so confused because he's like, what is everybody doing? And then they just start yabbering, and it distances off, and you can tell that he's like super touched because he has friends. And then he's like sitting here alone thinking about what friends are and like what is the meaning of life. And then his friend comes and joins him, and they talk a bit and whatever. This isn't important. I mean, it is. The whole chapter is beautiful. There's a bit of a homophobic moment, so I won't show you that. Anyways, and then he says here, like, you really are weird. And it just like hits him, and you see like emotionally how hurt he is. And then he like starts walking away. He says, you're weird, but it's not like I hate it or anything. And then he looks back and he's like, oh my god. And then at the end, it ends off with him thinking back to like his old self and like what he could say to himself like when he was 7 years old and hated life and thought everyone hated him. And it says it's okay, and he says, I wish that I could say that to myself 10 years ago, that it's okay to be weird and it's okay to be socially awkward. And it's just so cute. So that one chapter, which I basically showed you the whole thing, was like life, it was everything, it was so cute, and it like totally made this volume for me. But I literally don't have time to read stuff I don't like that much. Yeah, so I probably won't continue with these. I didn't buy any more and don't think I will. Okay, let's move on to the stuff that I enjoyed a lot more, because those are always more fun to talk about. Sorry. Okay, the next one I want to talk about was Dreaming Sun. I read these also on the plane, and these ones I actually adored. Like, they were so good. They're not my favorite on this list, but they were really good. All the characters are amazing. I think the premise in general is sort of like Fruits Baskets. It's the same setup. Basically, there's a girl living in a house with 3 guys. One of them is much older than the rest of them, which would be the dog guy in Fruits Baskets. And it is the guy who always, I think it might be him, the guy who's always wearing the kimono in Dreaming Sun. Then there's like 2 guys, and both of them are sort of love interests for the main girl. One of them is a goody two-shoes, smart at school type guy, which is, I think his name's Asahi in this book, is the mouse guy from Fruits Baskets. And then the other guy, who is dressed like a panda all the time in this one, reminds me of the cat guy in Fruits Baskets. But all the main characters in Dreaming Sun, in my opinion, are way more fleshed out, way more interesting, and less of a cliche or trope. The main girl in this one I just really liked because in Horimiya, the main girl is like a really studious and one of those characters who really takes her responsibilities super seriously. And I don't really like that in a main protagonist in general. I don't really like goody two-shoes characters, because I just find unless you're gonna show me how they turn bad, it's not really interesting for me. But in Dreaming Sun, the main girl is not like that at all. She runs away from home. She is kind of dumb. She is pretty headstrong. She does what she wants. I think the whole aspect of like her trying to find love was a little bit, you know, like that's your dream. That's really the dream you want to have. But I'm not going to judge her for that. I still thought it was like very innocent and cute, and I didn't mind it in the end. Even right from the beginning, she talks about how she hates life and she hates her name, and she's a bitter protagonist, and I love her for it. She's all like playing with this child but like doesn't want to play with the baby. I kind of love her. Maybe because she's like acting slightly like depressed and detached from the world, and I like that aesthetic and that feeling more than someone who's really happy and go lucky. She's bitter and she has this resentment in her heart, but she still has a lot of things that she's joyful in life and things that she's working towards. So it's not a book about depression. I don't want you to think that. The art style is obviously very cute. if that matters to you. I will say, like, Horimiya, in my opinion, better reflects reality in that I think most people are fairly boring in real life. We're all just nice and say the same stuff to each other type thing. And this is more slice of lifey, whereas this is more kind of zany characters and interesting stuff, and the things that they say and the things that happen are a little wacky and probably wouldn't happen in real life. But nonetheless, I find this way more interesting because of that. So if you want like a more realistic depiction, I think Horimiya would probably be better. But if you're into like cute and more lesson filled, almost more substantial stuff, I would go with this. I also think, just like from the drawings, the main the two main guys are really cute. So this is one of the main guys. So if you're into like more of a punk rock type guy, I think you'd like him. And then if you're into more like clean cut pretty boy, he's this one. So both type of guys if you're interested. And then if you're into girls, she like looks like a doll. I mean, this is her. So oopsies. Oh no, JYJ. A couple random things I guess that I noticed is just her eyes are like really massive, like Barbie size. And I don't know if any of you guys are Clockwork Orange fans, but it reminds me a lot of the Clockwork Orange, like the makeup. I really liked the character of Taiga. I think he's such a G. He's just so savage. It's great because he's almost like this plot device that forces them to just deal with their emotions and forces them to communicate, and so there's no misunderstandings that kind of go on for a really long time because Taiga's in the room and he'll just like somehow magically know what everybody's thinking and he'll force them to act on it. I almost wish I had that in my life. I feel like it would save you so many years of wasting your time being scared of doing shit. Like I said, some people might think that the whole concept of her trying to make herself super pretty to find a boyfriend. Actually, maybe I should give you some context, but when Taiga lets her come into the house, he says that one of the conditions is like you need to have a dream at all times. And it's super cute, and I'm like, oh my god, like making life so simple here for us. But her dream is to just find love and to have a boyfriend. You can argue that that shouldn't be a dream that she aspires to have, but like I'm gonna allow it because I like all the characters, and I do think that sometimes on her journey to finding her boyfriend, she does kind of explore issues around relationships and stuff. There's this one line, if I can find it, where she gets super pretty. I think she's eating salad or something, and then she says this like revolutionary line about how maybe she should have worked on her personality instead of her diet to get a man. I just think it was so good. I'm never gonna find. I should have tabbed it. I thought it'd be easier to show you some of the stuff just like this. So on this page where my thumb is, you can kind of see some of the times where I think it's a bit like damsel in distressy. So basically she got all dressed up, as you can see by her makeup, for this guy that she likes, but the guy that she likes is out doing stuff and he doesn't want to come visit her. So then she gets all upset, she gets up and she starts running, which is fine, but then she has to trip, and it just kind of gives off the vibe of like she trips because she's sad and useless. I mean, I think it's because she's wearing heels. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just felt like she didn't need to trip, you know? She could have ran away sad and been extra, but she didn't need to fall. And of course, these two creepy men come and talk to her right away. I mean, you know the rest, right? That was one of the few times where I didn't like the manga. This one I want to show just because if you read it, this is so applicable to CARMS. So all of my med school friends who are applying to CARMS, please take this piece of advice. This is another really cute page where the panda guy that I was telling you about, Zen, he thinks he's dying. But again, Taiga's so savage. He says it's love. And then his face. That reaction though. This was another set of panels that I really liked because this is the realest shit ever. This girl, I guess it's cold outside, but she put on a cute outfit. And then he's all like, you're shivering, are you okay? Like, you don't have a jacket? Like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, well, at first I think she says no, but then she's like, yeah, no, but I did bring one, but like, you know, my outfit's too cute for me to want to wreck it by wearing one. And I was like, damn. It's so true though. If you don't put the effort in looking good every day, like if you're one of those people who looks good every day, then I guess you don't care. But if you look like trash most days and then you finally decide to get up, do your hair, do your makeup, put on something nice, and then ruin it with a jacket. But yeah, so I super recommend these two, and this is just a general thing, but like the amount of detail that goes into these drawings, it's just crazy. Like it's a 2D thing on paper, and yet like there's so much emotion that you can see on their faces, and like it's almost like you can see all the action sequences. There's this one picture of Asahi where he's like crying but also smiling, and I literally like stared at it for a good like 5 minutes on the plane because it was just like so mesmerizing, because You know how like everyone talked about the Mona Lisa having like happy eyes, no, sad eyes and a happy mouth or something? I felt like that was him. Like he was the Mona Lisa, and it gave me all the feels that the Mona Lisa didn't really give me. So, and then the last and final book that I read from Miss Emma Reads a Lot's channel was The Prince and the Dressmaker. And this one, like I knew I was gonna like this one just because of the premise. As soon as you told me it was about a prince who like secretly dressed like a woman, I was like, this is gonna be some RuPaul shit and I'm gonna love it. And it was so good. It puts you in such a happy mood. It's such a feel-good book. The art is like amazing. It's a lot of fun. It's colorful. It's cool. Actually, the artist at the end of it, if you're like super into art, she has like a whole section in the back about like what her process is, what stuff she uses, and then like how she'll make drafts. She'll even show you how she'll start paneling stuff out. Just the message of it, of like embracing your strangeness. I put it in quotations because like obviously it's not strange, but like, you know, if you're not whatever society considers normal. It's just so good. And like I love the way that his family responds to all of this. I loved like the dad in this. There's this one. Sorry, this part is gonna be a spoiler panel, but I want to show it to my friends who don't care about books. This is the last book anyway, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you can just end the video now. But anyways, this is mostly for Andrew. I just want to show you what the dad does when he finds out that his son has been dressing in drag this whole time, because she has this like alter ego called Lady Crystalia. First, the dad doesn't accept him, but at the end he like dresses up too, and he joins this like fashion show, and it was just like, it's everything. Like it took Love Simon's dad's reaction and like up 5 notches. It's just so good. I kind of like how this whole book in general talks about drag and stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really give you an answer about either of the main characters' sexualities, and it doesn't necessarily tell you anything about whether or not they're related, because I think a lot of people think it goes hand in hand. Like if you're into drag, you're either gay or at least part of like the LGBTQ plus community. Just like the fact that the dressing in drag part of it has nothing to do with what your sexuality is, and I kind of liked that in this book, it doesn't even bother to try to explain what his sexuality is, and they don't even bother to dive into specifically how he sees himself and what his identity is. And I think that that was like a really good decision on part of the book, because it didn't even matter. Like I found like the story itself was just so magical. Also, all the chapter heads are like a piece of fabric, and like all the measurements, and it's just cool because I would like sit there for a while pretending like they're tangrams or something and see if in my mind I could connect the 3 and the 5 and what would this look like ultimately when it was sewed together, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I really recommend this one if you just want like a fun, lighthearted story. I am all about gender bending stuff just in general. So alright, I think that's it for my video. That was me reading most of Miss Emma Reads a Lot's manga and graphic novel recommendations. The other one that I want to read that I have seen on her channel and a few others is, I think it's called Making Friends, and it was like based on Sailor Moon or something like that. Yeah. Okay, cool.